we've got some fun things cooking at Baird Manor and Jolly Holiday Studios. So I figured it's probably time to do an update on our Patreon subscriber that we've been doing. We've got some great things coming out. And so just kind of a quick update of where we've been, where we're going. I originally started this to see if there was a way that I could share the work I already did to save people time. You know, our overarching goal on this channel is to make projection mapping and digital decorating more accessible to more people. Trying to find an easy button for projection mapping. And there's so much time and effort to put into finding and prepping media, videos, and pictures so they're projection mapping friendly. So all this started as just kind of a way for me to share my project files and see if that's helpful for people's projects as they're creating projection mapping. And so I did it with Patreon and Google Drive, and it ended up being popular, but those platforms are a little clunky. So one of the things I'm hoping to get complete by June, July timeframe is a better solution for handling subscriptions and something that'll be a little easier to work with than Google Drive and Patreon together. So we're also going through the content that's out there in Patreon right now and making sure that we have clear permission or ownership to share those assets. I want to make sure I'm being fair to the original creators. And so going through that to make sure we're in a better place. I'm also increasing the quality of a lot of the assets out there. Sometimes in my rush as I'm creating shows, I'll accept a lower resolution image or video to get it done. So making a pass and upscaling with some AI software that I purchased to help improve the quality. And then finally, we're cranking out lots of new content. If you've been following this flurry of activity around AI and AI generated artwork, it's proven to be a really cool way for us to expand and add assets quickly. And so as part of this overhaul of what we have out there, we're utilizing AI as one of the tools in our toolbox. And so as of March 2023, we now have over 1,800 assets that come with the Patreon subscription. We still have the tiers, so $3 gets you access to this images folder, the $9 gets you access to videos, and then the $25 premium tier gets you access to kind of high quality premium videos and Adobe templates. So I thought I'd just kind of walk you through what the latest is. What are some of the assets that we have out here? Because it can be difficult if you're looking at whether or not you want to subscribe to know what's actually in there. So I figured I'd give you a tour and show you what we're working on and what's out there currently. So if we start at the $25 tier, there's going to be, if you're familiar with Hauntworks, that was our first website that we launched back in 2020. And our very first Baird Manor show, a lot of the effects we wanted didn't exist. And so we created them with Adobe products and green screens and using my family members to create different effects. And so we had those for sale for a while on Hauntworks. And that site we're porting over to something new. And so all of those effects are available now in the premium level. So I'll show you a couple of those. So any of these ones that have Hauntworks in the name were some of the very first effects that we created. And probably one of my favorites and a popular one is the Dueling Ghosts. Obviously, this is inspired by Disney's Haunted Mansion. And we made our own. This is me on the left, and this is my old man on the right. Put together this effect. So this, along with the other Hauntworks effects, is available in the Patreon right now. Caretaker is another popular one that comes with that. We have this in the window of our show. It's kind of a combination of the caretaker in the graveyard of the Haunted Mansion and the Hatbox Ghost. It's got kind of similar look and feel. We have some changing portraits. We have our version of the organist. So all those would come in the top tier, as well as some Adobe templates, as I mentioned. So wherever I can find an effect that I'll show you how to do it on the YouTube, but if you can have a template that comes with everything you need, then you can just open up that template and you can play around with it and see how it works and then use it in your projects. So a couple of examples of that would be using the Saber effect within Adobe After Effects. I've got a few templates you can use to get that figured out. I have a couple of the Shatter effect to see how that's done. I'm also trying to see where it's feasible to put a template in here for shows that we're creating as well. So sometimes the permissions I have to use for assets don't allow me to put them out here, but to the degree I can, templates for shows, I will start going out here as well. And so that also is in the top tier. Then if we look more broadly for videos, ones that would also be included in that middle tier, the $9 tier, you'd get most of all these, including a bunch of the ones we're starting to do with artificial intelligence. Like this was an image, started with an image from Midjourney, and then we're adding different fun animations to it, making it talk to a script and various other simple animations to it. Using a production crate template that they have, we modified that so that you could have a Jack Skellington jack-o'-lantern. This is another effect of a butler. The butler was originally designed in Midjourney as well. We have curtains. I was surprised how difficult it was to find tattered curtains blowing in the wind, like you'd see in the ballroom scene of the Haunted Mansion. It ended up being difficult to find something like this. And so we made some for the Baird Manor show, and those are available in the subscription. You might recognize some of these from the shows as well. Mordrum, our interactive talking jack-o'-lantern, was really popular. We had a 13-foot tall scarecrow, a massive pumpkin head with this projected on it to sing and talk to trick-or-treaters as they went by. That's included. You might also recognize this from our Christmas show. This goes great in the window. Santa sneaking around in the house. And a fan favorite, Buddy the Elf style, jumping into the tree. I'm also just barely starting to add some good Star Wars effects too. Once you remove the green screen on this, then it makes a cool logo between the Empire and the Rebels. And we can actually sync the pulsing of the light to music. So that would look something. Let's show you a sample of a show of what that looks like. So here you can see that logo pulsing to the music. This particular one is a mashup between Carol of the Bells and the Imperial March. Along with this neon of Darth Vader with the Santa hat, we've got R2-D2 in the mix as a neon asset. All those things are going into this folder as well. And Wednesday Addams is popular, so we have a green screen thing you can have running around on your rooftop. You'll see we're using kind of a combination of ways of providing these. Something we create in Adobe software, something we can create in AI and then augment with Adobe, or green screen. We still do a lot of green screen, like these droids that you can use for like a May the 4th show. And then I'll show the walls here in a little bit too, but that's in a different folder. But walls that have animation that you can just drag onto your project also go into this folder. So this is a wall that you can just drop into your project, and you can skew it or corner pin it onto your wall, and then already have some ready-made cool effects, a little crack in the wall with some eyes staring out at you. So things like this are going to be particularly helpful for Luxido. If you have a Luxido, the software within it is limited on what kinds of changes and alterations you can make to videos and images. So this something like this, though, you can just upload to your Luxido, drag it onto your project, and you're good to go. And then a fourth way that we're making these is using Adobe Character Animator. And there's a bunch of cool puppets that you can get out there and then animate the facial expressions and the eye movement and the jaw movement. We use him to introduce our show as people are driving up, giving them the script about, not blocking our neighbors' driveways and turning their headlights off, and what station to tune to. We're using a character like this. Another popular one last year was the Clark Griswold style, climbing the ladder and hanging from the roof. I did this out on a rainy day on the playhouse, so it's a little rough, but I'll show you what it looks like on the house. It ended up being really popular. I was kind of worried about cops getting called because it looked pretty real, like I was really falling from the roof. Here's a Griswold sequence where the power goes out and then you have a kid popping up in the window trying to fix the power. And then over here, we've got the Clark Griswold hanging from the ladder sequence. And some other miscellaneous ones like messages to remind people to turn off their headlights or what to tune to, but a bunch of stuff. And adding something about every week to this. So this just continues to grow. As I said, overall, we're over 1,800 so far, and we're adding to that very quickly. All right, let's move to the images folder. So in the $3 tier, you get access to all of these. And this is probably where most of that 1,800 is the textures and the different objects that you'd want to use for your haunt. It's difficult and time consuming to find things that are projection mapping friendly. So as I'm creating these for my own projects or finding ones that might be popular, I'm putting them out here. So for example, even starting with walls, having walls that are 1920 by 1080, something that you could easily skew and corner pin is difficult to find. You can find tiles, but then you have to tile them out yourself with like the Reptile effect or copying and pasting them and then making sure that they're seamless. I'm trying to take a lot of that busy work off your plate so that you could just peruse these and drag them onto your project. I have a folder for the base textures. So these ones don't have anything fancy added to them. It's the basic stuff like a brick wall or a rock wall or wood to start with kind of a foundation from. So here's a couple of fun ones that we've recently added. Got a wall of skulls. This is a kind of a log cabin look, but it's with bones instead. And on the project I'm working on, the skulls are actually behind the bones to make it look cool. We've got a good wood texture here. And particularly for Luxedo people or those that don't have a way to edit these, then we'll do some color variations of some of the more popular textures. We have this one that's kind of an icy look if you wanted to do like an ice castle. Got some AI generated space or tech type of textures ready to corner pin. If you want to do a creepy old haunted house, that's where I've used some of these wood textures. Got some various rock textures as well. Haunted mansion wallpaper, inspired by Haunted Mansion, was another one that was difficult to find. So this one, the base tileable image was created in Midjourney, and then adding some variations to it. And on some of these, we'll even add some lighting effects. Lighting effect adds to the realism, it adds to the depth, it adds to the texture. So some of these will just add a little bit of lighting and shadows to them. So with these base textures, then you can start adding things on top of it. So here's, like I mentioned, the skulls been underneath the bone logs to put on the side of a house. These ones were inspired by the reopening of Toontown. I was looking at the cool textures that they have there and finding some that would match the look and feel that they had. So you might recognize a couple of these if you walk around Toontown. We can add various moss or mold or rust, concrete texture with some cracks in it so that the underlying brick is showing through. This one you'll recognize from the videos folder, but instead of the animated eyes, it's just a flat texture with some brick showing through. Or if you wanted some static eyes, got a few variations of that, or just the plain wall, and you can add it the way you want. A couple different versions of the wallpaper and coloration. This is what I'm going to be redoing our 2020 Baird Manor show with fresh assets from the same folder. So ones like this are going to be part of our Baird Manor. You can add additional vines, whatever we want. And this is, right now we're close to 300 wall assets. And I want to increase that in the next few months so that when we start getting into the busy season, then we'll have lots of things to choose from. We also have things that you can add on yourself. So if you take one of the base wall textures, then you can add these things to it yourself so you can get the look and feel you want. So whether it's cracks with skulls behind it, cracks with brick, wood, these are transparent image, so you can pick whatever wall you want and then throw these on top. A couple of other things in the images folder, and these are areas where Midjourney is really helping out. We're creating a whole bunch of cool looking characters that you can use. And where possible, we'll add animation to it. We've made some of these talk if you followed our channel, or added other simple animation to it. These busts are some of my favorite, very Haunted Mansion-esque. We also have folders of doors and windows, anything that you need to make your house look spooky and make it look like it's really haunted. And then this miscellaneous folder, I'll probably organize some more, but there's a ton of different just miscellaneous objects that you might want on your house. So tombstones, or a suit of armor, or a floating candelabra, gargoyles, gates. We've got some Tim Burton style tombstones, hearses, chandeliers, pirate heads, gargoyles. And these are also a combination of using AI or green screening. So some of these are actual objects, like this chair here would work well for a Haunted Mansion asset. Transparent background, drag it where you want it on the house, and ready to go. Sconces, things like that. And then additionally, I'm adding kind of full-size scenes if you need something for backgrounds. Because we're not always making our house look like a house. Maybe we're trying to make our house look like something different. For some of my Star Wars themed shows, I've got Tatooine, and I've got the Forest of Endor. We've got various more Haunted Mansion inspired ones. We've got winter scenes for Christmas. And so those types of assets, these full scene type of pictures, are going to be in that folder. And then I try to also include the raw source images that I created these from, so that if you want the flexibility to do it yourself, then you can. Like here's some of the original tiles that I used to create the textures. So there you go. There's our March 2023 update on what we're doing for our Patreon community to help make projection mapping easier. Let me know if you have any questions, if there's any requests of things that you might want to see in here. And look forward to more and more images and videos and templates. It's an exciting year with all the different changes coming out. It's going to be a great year. Then one other thing I forgot to add, and that you get as part of your Patreon subscription, is you get access to a Facebook group where you can share what you're doing. You can ask questions, and once a month we do a live office hours over Zoom, where we can talk about any projects that you're working on, and we can help support each other. I can answer questions about how I do different effects, and so we do that every month for members of the Patreon. So that's another benefit you can get by jumping in, and that's available even on the $3 tier to be able to ask questions and be able to get access to that community.